Jayna Hefford, or Heff as she's affectionately known to her teammates, is a name that is synonymous with women's hockey and the NWHL. She has 3 Olympic medals to her credit, 2 of them gold and 1 silver, and 5 world championships under her belt. Jayna is passionate about hockey and plays for the love of the game. Known for her speed, vision, and great shot, she began her career at the tender young age of 6. Jayna credits her family support for the success in achieving her dreams and goals as a child. When not playing hockey, she still has hockey on her mind, running a hockey school with teammate Lori Dupuy for other hockey players. Join me, Bina Pandya, as I go one-on-one with Jayna Hefford after the break. Jayna, if you could go one-on-one with anyone, who would it be?
Well, on the ice, I was always a big Wayne Gretzky fan growing up, so that would be pretty neat, but I'm get pretty excited watching Sidney Crosby play, so I'd love to go one-on-one with him.
Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Bina Pandya, and joining me today I have world-renowned women's ice hockey player Jayna Hefford. Jayna, welcome to One-on-One.
Thank you.
Jayna, everybody knows who you are as far as in the hockey world, and anybody who's followed the Olympics is familiar with your face and your talents. How did you become interested in hockey?
Well, I started playing hockey at a young age. I was about 6 years old, and I had an older brother who played hockey, and my dad was fairly active in hockey, and he still plays today, and my mom was active in coaching, so it was something I really grew up with, and I think it was just a passion I had from as long as I can remember, and I've always loved playing, whether it be on the ice, on the road, or just floor hockey somewhere.
Well, you are a woman. Why hockey? Why did you not decide to go into figure skating or something else?
I think I just grew up watching the sport, and my parents were very supportive and never said that I couldn't do that because I was a girl, and I'm glad they did now, and I see the young girls and they have so many opportunities to play hockey, and it's something that's been such a great experience for me, and I'm thankful I was able to do it from a young age.
Well, you started at the young age of 6. What type of a hockey league did you go into? Are there a lot out there for girls that young?
When I was young, there wasn't a lot for girls at that age, and I played boys for 3 years before I moved on to girls hockey, but now there's so many opportunities, and there's so many young girls teams, probably from the age of 5 all the way up, and all different levels. So at that time it was a little more difficult being a girl and being the only girl on the team, but now there's a lot more opportunities.
How much of your own personal time as a youngster went into practicing and keeping in shape?
Well, at a young age, I think everything was hockey. I was watching it, or I was playing it, or I was out on the street playing, and it just when you have a passion and a love for something like that, I think it's what you think about 24/7. Obviously, as like any other young girl, I went to school every day and did those things, but hockey was something I've always had such a passion for.
All right, you said that you played hockey and your brother played hockey. Obviously, isn't there a large cost involved in that? How did your parents handle all that, shuttling you to all the practices and also keeping you in school?
Well, there's a huge cost in playing hockey. It's not a cheap sport to play, but there are ways, I think, if you are bound financially, that you can get involved. But my parents were so supportive in terms of athletics and sport, and hockey wasn't the only thing I played. I played baseball, I played soccer, I played basketball, and I was just, I loved playing sports, and they encouraged me to do that. And I think they probably saw the long-term effects of having myself and my brother be active and healthy, and hopefully, that's a lifestyle that we've carried on throughout our lives.
Did you manage to still have a social life while you were playing hockey, especially for teenagers as you get into high school, hanging out with your friends, just being with them? It is an important thing.
It's very important, but it's also very difficult when you're so focused and going through high school, I remember, we used to always play every weekend and on Friday nights. But at that time, I loved the game so much, and I had goals that I wanted to achieve. And so I loved going to the rink and playing. And I also had friends away from hockey, some of my best friends. And, when I was at school, I was hanging out with them. But on weekends, often I was playing hockey. And it's difficult. You make sacrifices and you make choices. But I was very focused from a young age that I wanted to go somewhere with hockey.
What were some of the goals that you had growing up?
Well, playing hockey, I knew I wanted to play at the highest level. I remember watching the first Women's World Hockey Championships in 1990 on television, and at that time I remember thinking, wow, I wanted to play for Team Canada, and I actually went and watched the 94 World Championships in Lake Placid, and then they announced women's hockey would be an Olympic sport, and I remember thinking, I wanted to compete for Canada. I wanted to go to an Olympic Games. So as I, grew older, my goals changed, but I always wanted to play at the highest level. I wanted to represent my country in World Championships and Olympic Games.
Did you have any idols growing up?
When I was young, I looked up to NHL players for the most part. I was a huge Wayne Gretzky fan as a kid, and I went to a few hockey schools when I was young, and I had the opportunity to meet some female hockey players at that time. Margot Page ran a hockey school, and Geraldine Heaney was there. So girls that I eventually was able to play with, which was exciting for me, but there weren't as many female role models as there are today. And I think that's another thing that's great about our game is young girls can grow up playing hockey now, watching other girls play hockey at that level.
And as you sort of went through your hockey career, who were your biggest supporters for you personally?
Well, my parents obviously were the most supportive, and again, being the only girl, they never told me I shouldn't do it because I was a girl, and that's something that stuck with me. I was also lucky to have a lot of friends that played hockey. I had a really good bunch of girls that I played with growing up, and we kind of moved through the levels together, but we all had a passion for it. We wanted to play, and we were there every weekend, and despite what was going on in our social lives. So we had a committed bunch of girls, and those teammates and my parents are, I think, my support system growing up.
Well, stay with us. Coming up after the break, we'll continue on with Jayna Hefford and her amazing hockey career. Welcome back to One on One with Jayna Hefford. Jayna, you played, through high school hockey, and then how did you carry your career on?
When I finished high school, I was looking at universities, and I chose to go to the University of Toronto, and for a few reasons. I know their education system was second to none, especially in Canada here, and they had a really great hockey program as well, and that's what kind of helped me make my decision where I was going to go to school. And once I got there, I played for the University of Toronto. I played in now is the National Women's Hockey League. At that time it was similar, but a senior women's hockey league where a lot of the national team players played. And from that first year, I was lucky enough to get recruited and scouted and invited to a national team camp, and made Team Canada in 1997 for the first time. So that's kind of how it went. But I was lucky and fortunate the way it worked out that I was able to get into the program fairly early.
Then how did you end up at the Brampton Thunder?
Following the 1998 Olympics, a few players were coming back to Toronto, and at that time our league wasn't all that strong, so we were looking to start a new team and someone that had some funding. And one of the girls got Susan Fennell involved, who was the mayor of Brampton, and she said, yeah, we want to have a team in Brampton. And she said, I'll get it done and I'll get the funding I needed, and she did. And a few of us from the Canadian Olympic team in 1998 came back, and we started the Brampton Thunder, and I'm still playing for them, and we've had a very successful run.
Well, you've competed in the Olympics. What sort of pressure are you under when you are training for an Olympic game and getting ready?
Well, it's a lot of pressure, but we have high expectations of ourselves, and especially playing hockey in Canada, you're expected to win gold every time you hit the ice, and there's no gray area there. It's black and white. When you play for Canada and you're competing in hockey, you're expected to win, and we want to win as bad as anyone. So those pressures are, I think, what we put on ourselves, and we have such committed players that if you have days when you're feeling like, you can't train, you look around and there's 18, 19 girls that are pushing you to get better. And that's what we've been successful at doing is pushing each other to get better every day and ultimately bringing our program to new levels.
How tough is the competition to get chosen for the Olympic team?
Well, we have a ton of great players in Canada. Our depth is really, I think, why we are so successful at the international stage. And it's harder and harder to stay on the team because there's more young girls coming up that are bigger and stronger and have played at a higher level from a younger age. The girls now that are coming up at 6 and 7 probably played on all-star girls teams, whereas when I was 6 or 7, I was the only girl playing on a boys team. So they've had different experiences, but it's harder to stay on the team, and it makes you work that much harder as you get older to make sure someone doesn't take your spot.
Is it different when you're training then for a world championship compared to an Olympic event?
Well, when we train for the Olympics, we centralize for about 7 or 8 months before the actual Olympic Games. So it's very intense. We live in Calgary. We train day in, day out as a team. So that way we can train a little more intensely because we are playing. We're on the ice every single day. We're in the gym every day, and we're traveling to play games. In off years, we're playing with our club teams. But at the same time, sometimes that's harder because you got to find that drive within yourself to make sure you're getting better every day so that when you do get together with the team, you can prove that you're getting better and you're making strides and you have something to offer to the team that's going to make the team better.
What would you say your strengths and your weaknesses are?
Well, me as a player, I'm not very big, but speed is probably my strength, and my offensive, being a dangerous player, I think, when I'm on the ice is probably my biggest strength. Weaknesses, as a small player, it's important to make sure you keep your strength up and you can play the physical game because there are a lot of big girls in the game now. And so that's something that I continue to try to work on, is just that core strength and being able to compete with the bigger players.
Do you find that your coaches are having a big influence on you also?
Yeah, definitely. Coaching is always a huge thing, and we have great coaches here in Canada. And at the national level, they change, but there's been a little consistency over the last few years, so you kind of know what's expected of you. And at the club level, our coaches are we have a new coach this year, and she's been doing a great job, Donalyn Rosa. And it's important to be able to bring a team together, find that chemistry, and also make the team learn the technical skills that's going to make them successful.
Well, stay with us after the break. I'll ask Jayna what her most memorable game has been so far. Welcome back to One on One with Jayna Hefford. Jayna, you played in the Olympics, World Championships. You also play for the Brampton Thunder. For you personally, what has been the most memorable game so far?
I think the most memorable was probably the gold medal game in Salt Lake City. Not only because it was our first Olympic gold medal, but there's a big story behind that year, and we were really pretty heavily underdogs going in, and we found a way to come together as a group of 20 girls and the coaches and believe in ourselves, and I think upset a team that was expected to win the gold, and that was a pretty special moment.
Psychologically, how does one pick themselves up to prepare to play, a team that that you've lost quite a few games to already?
Well, I'm playing the Americans, and we had lost 8 times in a row to them. We really hadn't lost 8 games to anyone, let alone 8 games in a row. So I think that's where the mental preparation comes in, and we have sports psychologists that work with us full time, and that part of the game is a huge thing. And for us, we knew we weren't expected to win a gold medal. A lot of people didn't believe in us, but us as a group within the dressing room, I think, had more belief in ourselves. And that's where it came from, is that belief in one another, and it didn't matter what other people thought, and we knew when it came to that game that we could play 60 minutes of hockey and be the best team in the world, and on that day we were.
What was going through your mind when you scored the winning goal?
Well, when I scored, they made it 3-1, so it wasn't the winning goal at the time, but it was with 1 second left in the second period, so it's always hard to give up a goal that close to the end of a period, so we knew we had a good boost of energy from it, but at the same time we went to the dressing room, and you don't want to get too high and you don't want to get too low, and we knew we had 20 minutes left to play, and there was a lot of things that could have happened in that 20 minutes, and unfortunately the Americans did score another goal, but we were able to hold it off. And again, it just came down to that belief in ourselves and playing a really solid team game.
What's it like to receive an Olympic gold medal?
Oh, it's incredible. When they put the medal around your neck, there's so many different feelings you have and emotions, and they kind of all hit you at once. And you think about, you're thankful, you're ecstatic, you think about your family that are in the stands that have supported you for so long. You think about everything you've done to get to that point, to get to be able to play in that game. And it just kind of all hits you, and it's a little overwhelming, all the emotions.
How did your family react to it?
My family were ecstatic as well. My parents had never really traveled that much. That was the first time my mom was on a plane going to Salt Lake City. So they had an incredible experience there. And obviously all the time and effort they put into myself as a young girl and my brother, and getting us here and there to the rink and to the baseball fields. And I think it was a great moment for them.
How do you feel knowing that you have accomplished quite a few of the dreams you had as a young girl growing up?
It's incredible. It's sometimes it seems surreal when I look back and the things that have happened. But I have a lot of goals, and there's a lot of things I still want to do. So it's a matter of having goals, reaching them, setting new goals, and always having a vision of what you want to do and where you want to go. And it may not always be sport. There's other things outside of sport that I'm looking forward to in life. And so it's exciting to look at the past and enjoy it, but there's also things I still want to accomplish.
Would you say you have to stay as physically fit as your male counterparts in the NHL?
I think definitely. As a national team player, on top of our club team systems where we play 3-4 nights a week, we have our national team training that we have to do, and there's high expectations of us there where, we're expected to be in the gym 5-6 times a week. And so it's busy and it's intense, and there's no doubt in my mind that we have to train just as hard, if not harder than some of the male hockey players.
Jayna, you know what? You've said that you have to train as hard as your male counterparts, if not harder. How come your salaries are not sort of equivalent to their level, or even near it?
Well, our from a salary point of view, it's not there. It's unfortunate. We'd all love to be making a lot of money doing this. But we know that our game is, 50, 75, maybe even 100 years behind men's hockey. And there'll be a point where women will get paid to play hockey. But right now, we're playing for the love of the game. We're playing for the experiences we have. And despite the fact that I don't make a lot of money playing hockey, I wouldn't trade in my experiences for anything. And I hope that in the future, some of these young girls will be able to make careers out of playing hockey.
Well, coming up after the break, I'm going to ask Jayna about her hockey school that she has. Welcome back to One-on-One with the amazing Jayna Hefford. Jayna, in addition to playing hockey, you also have a hockey school. What is your hockey school all about?
I run a hockey school with a teammate of mine, Laurie Dupuis, who's also an Olympian and Canadian member. And we run a hockey school for young girls in Kingston and Ottawa. And it's just a fun way for us to give back to the game, to get to stay on the ice, interact with the girls. We bring a lot of our teammates down to the camps and hopefully teach the girls something, but let them have fun for a week and get on the ice. And so we've been running it now for almost 10 years, and we're going to continue to do so because it's a lot of fun, and it's great to see the girls enjoy the game and learn a few things throughout the week.
All right, Jayna, you're a star athlete. You've won Olympic medals. You've won world championships. You play for the Brampton Thunder. How do you keep your ego in check?
Well, I think ultimately I'm just doing something I love, and I don't feel any more comfortable when I go on the ice and I can just play. And I've been successful, and the Canadian women's hockey team has been very successful over the last number of years. And I don't know, ultimately it's hockey, it's a game, and to me it's something I enjoy doing, and I don't look at it as anything more than that. Like I said, I have other goals outside of sport that I want to accomplish as well, but we'll take success anytime we get it. But in terms of egos, I don't think there's any of that really involved.
I think when many of us watch a hockey game, whether it's a local hockey game or something at an Olympic level, we see sort of the whole team on the ice. What are some of the challenges with playing with different players, different strengths, different weaknesses, and different personalities?
Well, it's always tough to get 20 people to agree on anything, and when you have 20 women in a room, it's probably even more difficult. But I think it comes down to having a common goal, and each year our goal is to win a gold medal, to get better, to bring the program to new levels, and we all have that goal, and we all have a responsibility to get us there. So we need to make sure each one of us gets better, and we may not always agree on things, but we do agree on our common goal and where we want to get to.
What do you think can be done to increase women's hockey and the profile of it, and just to make people aware of the hard work that's really going into it?
Well, we're at a tough spot right now. We really need to, I think, market our game, but at the same time, you got to have that funding and sponsorship, whether it comes from the corporate side or the government. That sort of thing can always improve, and I guess we really need people to kind of step up to the plate and support it so we can get it out there and market the game and get more people to our games, and hopefully that'll help grow the game in general, and ultimately maybe be a pro league at some point.
Have you seen any changes in the last 3 to 5 years with the popularity of women's hockey and the fact that you've had such a great success at Olympics?
Well, the popularity of the game is growing. It's one of the fastest growing sports in Canada, so that's so great to see. But I think at our level, there's more and more people coming to the games, which we still need to get more coming out, but the level of the game's getting better every year, and that's the really important thing is, each year I think the game gets a little bit faster. We get more girls that have more experience coming into the league, and as long as we can keep the league growing and the skill level and the speed getting better, then we have a great product to watch.
What do you think hockey has given to you personally so far?
Well, I think hockey's molded me as a person, molded my personality, my characteristics. Things I've been able to take away from my experiences are going to be things that I'll keep with me, as long as I live. And I think those experiences will help me be successful in other aspects of life. So, I think it's so important for young kids to be involved in sport, not only from the health benefits of it, but the lessons that can be learned from being on a team, having success, having goals, I think will help you throughout your entire life.
Okay, you had a dream, you pursued it, you were successful. I think everybody's proud of your success. But what happens to those youngsters that have a dream of playing hockey, be it boys or girls, soccer or basketball? They've put all their time and energy into it, but they don't make it to the level that you've made it to.
Well, it's difficult, and I've had friends be released from teams, and it's difficult to see anyone's dreams get crushed. But I think the reality of it is that when it comes to hockey, there's 20 girls that can be on the Canadian team, and there's a lot more great players than 20 in this country, and not everyone can make it. And I feel very, very fortunate that I've been able to do that. But it's always difficult to see people fall short of their dreams. But it's a matter of, I think, again, believing in yourself and not letting that define you as a person, whether you don't make a team, whatever sport it happens to be in. I think it's believing in yourself and having that confidence and not letting anybody take that away from you.
Well, you've made us all proud. We wish you continued success, and thank you very much for being here on One on One.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of One on One. I hope to see you next time.